Hey guys, this is Seda Zeddy, and today I'm going to be talking about um, uh, lesson 9.2 in pre-calculus. And this one is about arithmetic sequences and series. Um, and so this topic is mostly based on substitution, mostly, and like subtracting, finding like the basically finding like this answer for like substituting, um, analyzing if it's arithmetic or not. Um, there's a lot of sequences too. You're gonna basically like, they're gonna tell you like, okay, you only have to do, you have like two of these things, you have to substitute them in order to find an equation. Like they will give you example a1 equals to 5 and then d equals to like 7, and then you will have like a formula and you'll substitute these numbers in a formula to find like the other rest, or just the formula, or just to find like one answer or just the equation. But yes, so basically this review is about the arithmetic sequence and series. There's a lot of sequences and a lot of series too, so let's get started with the review. So the summation notation is basically, it has this kind of like a E kind of shaped formula. Basically it is the sum of the terms of the sequence denoted as this formula. So basically they will have like some questions, they'll have like numbers located in here, and you will have to find like the answer or something, or equation, or to find like an equation of it, but it doesn't really matter, it depends on what question you get. Basically, let me explain what this means because some people kind of forgot. So basically, n is basically the terms you will get. So example, if it says 100, you will have to substitute 100 times. So you'll have to substitute 1 through 100. So this is where 1 comes from. So k equals 1 is ready to start. Okay, you have to start from 1 to 100. So that's why, because you have to end, like it's like a starting and ending point, you know? So example, n was 100, right? So it'll be 1 through 100. If it was infinity, you have to go like 1 through like infinity, like keep on going. But you don't have to do that. You could just like short it out, based on like what question you get. And then this AK part is basically the formula you will get, like equation, example 7n, and you have to replace n to like 1 through 100. Because you see n is 1 through 100, right? It's 100. So this k equals 1, the bottom is the starting point, the top is the ending point. So 1 through 100, remember that. 100 is n, k equals 1 is 1. So 1 through 100, keep substituting until you get through 100, and so on. So the arithmetic series is the sum of all terms in an arithmetic sequences. So basically, this is what we're going to be talking about, the arithmetic series. There's also another one called geometric sequences or series. And this is way different than arithmetic. This is mostly like subtraction, but the geometric was mostly like division, fractions, all of that. This one mostly addition, subtraction, multiplication stuff, all of that stuff. The only difference is that geometric is mostly where if you want to find the what's the differences between the sequences, you will have to divide them together. So, for example, like making a fraction. You will see when I talk about it later on. But right now, this topic is just about arithmetic. The formulas you need to know is the formula. Okay, so basically this formula is an equals to a1 plus n minus 1 times by d. Now this formula will be in use trying to find the equation of two things. For example, if they give you a equals 7 and d equals 5, you have to replace those two in here and then try finding the equation, by solving. The second formula is Sn equals n over 2, a1, parentheses a1 plus an. Now this formula is mostly finding for the n part. It's mostly finding for like an answer. For example, if they give you like a sequence, you will have to like try finding the difference first, and then try finding all the characteristics in order to substitute it in this formula. But that's pretty much it. You will see some. Okay, if I will show you some equations that will mostly make sense when I'm actually explaining to you guys. Then you will see how you're capable of these formulas for it. But let's just get started with the problems. Okay, so this is the first problem, and this problem is asking, is this sequence arithmetic, or if so, what is the D? What is the common difference D? So D is basically common difference. Difference is equal to basically D. So let me just include that so you guys know what I'm talking about. Now, in the formula I talked about previously, is basically D equals basically difference. It means the difference, okay? The common difference of the equation or the sequence. So basically, what we're gonna have to do to find out, okay, the thing you have to do is, the thing you have to find or do in order to find it, if it's arithmetic or not, you have to try subtracting them one by one. So like this sequence 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, you can kind of see that it will be arithmetic because when you subtract them together, it's by basically you're adding 2 plus. So you're just gonna like subtract them together on everything if you want to. Mostly I just check on two numbers, and then if they're both the same number or the equal number, then I just go on with it or move on. So basically 4 minus 2 equals to 2, and 6 minus 4 equals to 2, 8 minus 6 equals to 2, and 10 minus 8 also equals to 2. So that means this is a whole sequence of an equal number. So that means that this sequence is arithmetic. Okay? It is... Okay, I am very much bad at spelling. It is arithmetic, and so if you have... Okay, listen. The only way possible if it is arithmetic is when the numbers are the same. Now, when the numbers aren't the same, example, if you had 64, 32, and 16, okay? Now, 32 minus... Example, like 32 minus 64 is like negative 32, right? And then 60 minus 32... So 16 minus 32 would be like negative 16. So you see how they're both different numbers? They're both different numbers, right? So that's why this is not arithmetic at all. It is not. Not arithmetic. Metric. So it's not arithmetic at all, okay? And that's why this is why you need the same numbers in order to make it arithmetic. So let me just erase this real quick. Also, when you are trying to subtract them, you cannot subtract them by 2 minus 4. It always has to be behind the number and then keep on doing it, as sequence. So that it always has to be 4 minus 2, 6 minus 4, 8 minus 6, like a pattern. So since this is already arithmetic, that means that D, the common difference, D is equals to 2, because the difference is between 4 minus 2. Basically, the difference between the sequence is basically 2, because you're subtracting, right? You're trying to find the difference of what it is, and it's 2. Now, when you're finding a difference and it's not arithmetic, that means that there is no D. There's no common difference at all. Okay? If it's not arithmetic, that means it's nothing. It has no... It's not arithmetic, that means that there's no common difference at all. Okay? So this is the answer for the problem. Okay, so this is the second problem, and this problem is basically consisting of two things only and not even a sequence or a series. So you remember how in the previous review I talked about how they're gonna have questions like asking you of two things, and you just substitute into an equation in order to find the equation. So basically, this problem is basically asking you to find the equation of these two things just by these two, not by anything else. And now you're just like, what the heck is this? How are we supposed to find equation just by looking at this? What is the difference? Well, how do we do this? So now this is trying to find the equation basically just by these two. Okay, so now the honestly, these two are both most important in order to find the equation, because you're gonna have to substitute this in a formula. So previously I talked about how there's a formula that you will have to substitute these two. If they're asking for these two, that means you're gonna have to substitute in the formula to find the equation. Sometimes there will be like a different one. They will even involve like something else. To example, if they have like A4 equals to something 16. Okay. They're gonna also ask you to find, okay, actually no, my bad, this actually is a wrong format to do, never mind, too confusing for you guys. But basically, let me make it easier this way. Like example, if it says find A4 underneath, that means that you're gonna have to find A4 also. Like it's gonna give you like an extra step to do after you're done finding the equation. So when you find the equation, you substitute 4 in the equation. So you will see what I mean by that. I'll just add the find A4 if you want to. Actually, you know what? I'll do it because it's more easier for you guys to know and understand how it goes by step. So first of all, to find the formula. Now, the formula I talked about previously is an equals to a1 plus n minus 1 and times by d. Now, this is just like a times by d. I just mostly just put it out like that instead of parentheses, but it's the same thing as multiplication. Now, in order to now the substitution, now we can find like our alphabets or our terms that are actually, easier to notice. So A1 will be replaced right here and D will be replaced right here. Now remember, D is equal to common difference. Okay, it means common difference. Okay, so basically let's try substituting them now. So replacing them in the equation. So A1 is equal to 14. So you see how 14 is equal to A1. So let's put 14 right here plus n. Now n will just stay the same because there's no n at all. It doesn't tell us what is n in the. It doesn't tell us what is n beside d or a, right? So it doesn't tell us like what the n is in order to substitute. So we're not gonna do anything for the n because n is just n is what we have to find, in the problem. So it's 14 plus n minus 1, and d would be equal to 4. So basically 4. Now we're actually not done yet. This is not the final, formula or the equation. People think that this is just like the second step and that's done. It's not. You have actually one more step to find out on what it is. So basically, the final answer for the equation. Now, what you're gonna do is that you're gonna have to like distribute 4 by n and minus 1 and 14. All of that. Try distributing all of that. And basically, when you distribute it, it will give you a problem of 4n plus 10. Now, when you distribute it, you'll get the equation of 4n plus 10. Now, this is the final answer of this problem. Now, I asked you guys, I mentioned that I will give you like an example of what to do when it has like a problem that says find A3 after these two terms. Example, if it says find A3. Okay, so in order to find A3, you're gonna have to basically replace n right here. So A3, now listen, A3 is always like an. You know how they're basically the same thing, right? 3 is basically n. It's a term, right? So A3, now just replace it. Just replace n by 3, okay? So A3 equals to 4 times by 3 plus 10. And that will give you 12 plus 10, which will give you 22, okay? So now this is the answer for A3, the term A3, but in this question, without the A3, without finding A3, the answer for the question is 4n plus 10. But now I did find A3 in order for you guys to understand what they're trying to say when they say find A3. So I found A3 for you guys, and this is what it looks like in an example, and it's 22. Okay, so this is number 3, and this one asks you to find the partial sum of the summation notation. Okay, so basically, now I remember I previously talked about how 100 is the nth term, right? Right, so this is the nth term and n equals to 1, or it could say k. Let me just put it as k so you guys know what I mean. But you could always put it as n2. Mostly the equations involve n only. So I'll just include it as n for now. But basically all of it is all n, so it's kind of confusing, but you get used to it but it's better to know how to do it now than, you know, finding it out by yourself. So now now the first step in order to find what the difference is, and not the difference, but in this summation notation, you're going to be using the formula of Sn equals to n over 2 and a1 plus an. Now this formula is kind of confusing at first, but you will kind of like know how to do it when you find like an equation that will match it. But first you need to solve how to make this as a sequence first, because it's kind of confusing at first, right? So let's try making it a sequence first. So let's see. They have 4 right here, and they have 1. So that means that now listen, this is the starting point, and this is the ending. Okay, 100 is the ending, 1 is the starting point. Okay, now that means we're gonna have to start with 1, and then go through by 100. So we're gonna start by 1 and then end it with 100, because if you go past 100, you're not gonna find the answer at all. Okay, because it says that you have to end it by 100. That means that the n, the an hint is the 100. Okay, so basically what you're gonna do first is that you're gonna have to multiply. Okay, so multiply all of it 1 through 100. But for now I'm just gonna make it short. I'm just gonna try multiplying 1, 2, and then maybe like 100. No, like dot 100. Okay, it just keeps on going. But you don't need to. Okay, listen. You don't need to like multiply everything in the terms of 100. Like 1, like 5, 54, 67. That will take you forever. Okay, you can just skip through because they're not necessary. The only necessary part you will need is a1 and the an term, which is 100. N is equal to 100, right? So that's the ending. But if it says like to find like a specific like term, like a5, then you're gonna have to like, you know, find a5. But other than that, if it doesn't ask you that, then you're fine. You don't have to find that. You don't have to find every term. So right, for now I'm just gonna be finding a1, because honestly in this kind of part it only asks for a1 and an. Okay, so I'm just gonna try finding a1 and an. Okay, so let's find a1 first. So let's do, now this is 4, so that means that we're just gonna do 4 1 4. Let's try finding 4 2, just to give you like an example of what I'm doing. 14. Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry, I thought it was 7, my bad. 8 and like 4 3 maybe, let's go to 12, and then just skip it through and just do 4 times 100, which is the last term of the sequence. The last term would be equal to 400, right? So now when you found the last nth term, what you're gonna do now is you're gonna have to substitute. So listen, now you're just like, but we haven't even found n or anything yet. Actually, we kind of have, not the n part. Well, actually, we have actually found the nth part already. It's already in the summation notation. But like, where's a1 and a2 an? Now a1 we already found is 4, right? Because you see how a1 will be basically a substitution of 1 in n, right? And this is a2 and this is a3. You see how it's like going by, you know, as a pattern. And this is 100, which is basically 100. I mean, basically 400. So now let's, you know, replace the numbers to the term. So it'll be, now Sn will just stay the same. You won't have to replace n. It's just like, you know, the starting point of the equation. So Sn equals to n over 2. Now n over 2 is, they already give you the n right here. They already give you the n. Now this one is not the n. This is just, you know, like giving you a starting point of the terms of the sequence. Okay, it's not the actual n. Now the n they give you, the real n they give you is 100. Okay, so now you're gonna, I mean, they're not, it's not always gonna be 100. It can be infinity, any kind of number. Okay, a negative, it doesn't matter, but any number. Okay, not only 100. So 100 is equals to n. That means that n will have to replace over here. Okay, so 100 over 2. Now parentheses a1, we found a1, which is 4, right? Because 4 times 1 is 4. 4 plus 8n, which is 400. So remember that. Now, basically, this is all you have to do. Now what you're gonna do is that you're gonna have to find the final answer by calculating it. Okay, so basically the final answer for this problem is 20,200. So basically this is your answer in this formula. Now most of the time, I mean, sometimes they will ask you problems that just find the formula and that's it. So that means that you won't have to solve the whole equation. Sometimes it will just ask you just to find the equation and not the answer. But in this case, it says find the partial sum. That means that the partial sum would be 20,200. So this is the answer for the partial sum of this problem.